Israeli human rights violations in occupied Palestinian territory for this week. 2 Palestinian civilians were killed. 239 civilians, including 52 children, 6 women, and 5 paramedics, were wounded. 10 of those wounded sustained serious injuries. 14 Palestinian civilians, including 4 children, were wounded and in the West Bank in addition to a foreign activist, who was wounded twice. Israeli forces continued to open fire at the border areas in the Gaza Strip, but no casualties were reported. Israeli forces continue collective punishment policy against Palestinians. A house belonging to Mohammed Dar Yusuf in Kuber village, north of Ramallah, was demolished. Israeli forces conducted 98 incursions into Palestinian communities in the West Bank and 1 limited incursion was conducted in the Gaza Strip. 92 civilians, including 14 children, a woman and a journalist, were arrested in the West Bank. 24 of them, including a child and a woman, were arrested in Jerusalem. Israeli authorities continued to create a Jewish majority in occupied East Jerusalem. A printing house was demolished in Silwan. Settlers seized a land in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. Israeli forces continued their settlement activities in the West Bank. A residential tent, 4 barracks and 15 electricity poles were demolished in Barta Eastern Village, southwest of Jenin. Settlers wounded 3 civilians, including 2 children, uprooted 535 trees and caused damage to 35 vehicles. 4 shooting incidents were reported against the Palestinian fishing boats in the Gaza Sea, but no casualties were reported. 6 fishermen were arrested, 2 of them were wounded, and 3 fishing boats were detained in the northern Gaza Strip. Israeli forces turned the West Bank into cantons and continued to impose the illegal closure on the Gaza Strip for the 11th consecutive year. Dozens of temporary and permanent checkpoints were established in the West Bank and others were re-established to obstruct the movement of Palestinian civilians. 4 Palestinian civilians were arrested at the internal military checkpoints in the West Bank.